Well, this day where God make up for we. This is the day the Lord has made. Democracy has never been given on a platter of gold. Amen. Your freedom will never be given on a platter of gold. If we do not, I mean, it is zone. Ninu, it be buried. And my was you and but almost being a pro. Managerial. Garden was a became with them. I won. A man be born more in therapy. But here I have got a mark. This day, the day where God will make up for we. I talk say they begin the way they grow. That's some now when I don't know me. Because if I will come out my chambers, say I will begin working for outside. Now this thing where I will look at this. Southern Cameroon, they don't be slaves for be a hand. Television. Or for years, you don't tell me again. If this country is breaking into two, now he be responsible. Because we, the English people, they don't push me for war today. Now they resolve this. And I'm glad. I will stay for house and say, if I hear someone on the march, some soldier pass for corner, I will join one of the street. I don't need people for Yaoundé. We will must go for a today. I yellow. I must for inside Yaoundé. But the new woman don't be whether be here people. This time we don't write letter for you. Say me convene dialogue on Southern Cameroon. You know here. I'm glad say the people don't take their power. We are not taking the power into one hand. So we will continue until we see the light of day.
Well, good evening, fellow Ambazonians. I salute all una, and I hope say all una take care of yourselves. I hope say una stay strong. I hope say una take care of one another. I salute all una for this day, for this number 25, for this today on Monday, number 25 day for the month of July. I be una brother Asu, we are the press secretary for the executive office for Ambazonia Governing Council. I get a couple of things that one can discuss and una. I get a major announcement where one can make them for what people them from the Ambazonia Governing Council. As we start this day, today, the French President Emmanuel Macron, as we already announced him, he go to visit La République du Cameroon today. Mr. Macron either he already be inside Yaoundé or he day on his way to the colonial state for inside La République du Cameroon. As we already announced for our people them, La République du Cameroon, it don't appoint 2 new generals into the savannah states of Ambazonia for them as they talk for crush the small pockets of resistance will remain. As we already announced and for our people then, La République du Cameroon, the day now for a path, for carve out a transition for Cameroon. So the wahala for Cameroon over plenty. Make we start first with the message we come out for the office for the leader of Ambazonia Liberation, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba. Dr. Cho Ayaba, the man with the lead the Ambazonian Liberation, the man with he carve the liberation strategy for the Ambazonian people then, the man where he take his own foot, he enter inside ground zero, and he activate and launch and proclaim the Ambazonian people their right for self-defense, and he start the process for the national liberation. The man when I declare the Ambazonian people their rights for bear arms, for pick up arms. The man will give the Ambazonian people them the strategy of what they need for do specifically for crush, for defeat La République du Cameroon. The U.S. ambassador, Mr. Lamora, the new U.S. ambassador, Mr. Lamora, he don't go for Biya over the weekend, meet up with the mayor for Biya, meet up with the traditional authorities of Biya, meet up with, the colonial mayor for Biya, and the colonial traditional elites for Biya and for the the southwest region. Mr. Lamora, he give a press conference while he be there for Biya, and during that time, Mr. Lamora tell the Cameroon colonial journalists them, he tell them say military solution, not be a military solution. It will solve the problem or the war between Cameroon, the conflict between Cameroon and Ambazonia. And as a result, the leader of Ambazonian resistance, he put out a message today to Mr. Lamora, to the American people then, to the international community, and to the Ambazonian people. Make we hear what Mr. Dr. Lucas Cho Ayaba, the leader of Ambazonian Liberation, which he tell the new U.S. ambassador to La République du Cameroon, Mr. Lamora. We hear what Mr. Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, he talk him. The leader talk say, the message talk say, a military solution na the only thing where they exist. He talks a response to U.S. ambassador, and I message that. The leader talks say he understand. Say the U.S. ambassador will be make a visit to Biya. He be speak to Cameroon. He talks say at the same time with the U.S. ambassador, he talk to Cameroon or to the Cameroonese colonial authorities. At that same time, the Cameroon government, it moved all Cameroon generals into our territory. The leader talks say, make the Americans, they understand, say the Ambazonian forces, that they upgrade their technologies, where there will be more powerful weapons for battle Cameroon. He talks to make the ambassador know, say both sides, the Cameroon, they prepare for more war on Ambazonia, and Ambazonia that they also prepare for fight Cameroon. The leader talks say make Cameroon. He talks say Cameroon they try for use their military force for re-establish their political control over the Ambazonian territory. So the U.S. general enough he talks say military solution or they where Cameroon they use military solution for re-accept authority over their defeat in Ambazonia. Okay? The leader also go ahead for talk say they say we they also try for hold our line and for put more political control through the transition authority with the Ambazonian Governing Council the implementer on the territory. The leader talks say the ambassador need for know this one. He talks say there is no diplomatic solution It's the leader talks a diplomatic solution. There is no diplomatic solution in not currently day for the Ambazonia and Cameroon war. And contrary to the for opposite for which the ambassador talk for which the ambassador talk he talks a military solution idea. The leader talks a make the ambassador be reminded say for 60 years Cameroon never ever negotiate anything where it concern Ambazonia. It talks a Cameroon it failed for negotiate the implementation of the plebiscite agreement, and he used their military power for takeover and dismantle everything we make up the Ambazonian state. The leader talks to make the ambassador be reminded. Say Cameroon failed even for negotiate, for institute a fair electoral system, even for your own country. A system will not be threaten the state. Cameroon failed for implement, for allow mayors, with even if when they elect them, for get even small power, for rule municipalities. And municipalities, they not be threaten the existence of Cameroon. Cameroon, it never ever negotiate. The only time where Cameroon be trying for negotiate, now during the Bakassi War, because during that time, Cameroon be faced a more powerful country and a more military, where it get more power past Cameroon their own. Now the only time that way Cameroon be get interest for any negotiation. The leader go further for talk say at the time where the ambassador be to make this interview for inside Cameroon, for inside Biya, Cameroon be to move their generals into the Ambazonian territory because they claim say they want to go fight for defeat the last pockets of resistance. The leader talks say Ambazonia they control most of the areas where they dey around. With Ambazonia they control most of the areas them. Most territories for Ambazonia will not be in towns, we in villages and small towns. Now Ambazonia, they control all those areas, and both for the Savannah states and for the Atlantic states. It talks say they say Cameroon don't be defeated in for our territory, and Cameroon be very desperate for attempt for maintain a military control over their small networks. It talks say the Cameroon, their small forces, then when they remain for Ambazonia, they move from one place to another for commit more massacres, extrajudicial killings, where that means that they move people for their house them and they just kill them. And for continue for burn Ambazonian homes. The leader continue for talk say, the leader continue for talk say, they say, right now, the enemy, we don't lost control for Ambazonia, it try not only for use human rights abuses and human rights and crimes against the Ambazonian people them, for things if he still get control. It talks say the deals, the fit only come back for Bui, not for Amoka, or they drop them by helicopter. It talks say they say the Cameroon military, they fit only supply their forces them, not only through helicopters. Now the leader talks say they say now we the Cameroon government they hide now for Amoka and they only drive now for night for commit their crimes then. Our people must continue for arm themselves for make sure say they remove anything we remain for Ambazonia in the name of Cameroon. It talks say they say our people they must know say Cameroon no go ever negotiate with Ambazonia. It talks say make our people they know say Cameroon consider Ambazonia like slaves for them. The only thing we concern them now say the Ambazonian people they must surrender, and this one it no go ever happen. All right, that one are the message we come out for the office, for the leader of our War of Independence, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba. Secondly, make we bring una more news. As we be announced for our people, then, the French President Emmanuel Macron, he did visit La République du Cameroon, or it already be inside La République du Cameroon. It's supposed to be for Cameroon today. And France 24, the French media outlet, they don't put out a message today for their website for France 24. And for that message, they say Emmanuel Macron, he go for Cameroon on Monday, July the 25th. And he go meet the Cameroon president, Dictator Paul Biya. And for the French newspaper, it continue for talk say, Mr. Paul Biya, now the oldest head of state for the world, we don't be for power for 40 years. And Mr. Macron, he visit for inside Cameroon, now for make sure, now for see how the political uncertainty, that means the political chaos, we inside La République du Cameroon, how Mr. Macron, if he help for the problem, and number two, for see who he go help for take over power from Paul Biya. This one, the publisher for France 24 newspaper. Now, the two main news items in that what I want to bring up for now. Today, we will talk about a major announcement we control Ambazonia. Over the last few days, we don't inform our people on Cameroon their new strategy. The Ambazonian defeat of Cameroon and the potential for political chaos for inside Cameroon, it don't cost the Cameroon state for try for re-strategize. The Cameroon state for make sure say it contain the Cameroon population and it maintain a level of military fear for put fear for all the Camerooners their heart, because Cameroon people them now the most primitive state, and the Camerooners people them now the most backward people them in terms of the development for Africa, in terms of civilization for Africa, in terms of exposure within Africa. If you see the state of Cameroon, now one of the most backward country for Africa, and the Cameroonese population, based on the dictatorial government where they get them, they don't be a people where they be very fearful, they be a people where they be very timid, they be a people where they be very backward, they be a people where they live in fear. So if you see the way the Cameroonese that they behave, the people of Cameroon where they behave, a foreign president, it can't visit Cameroon. Hundreds and thousands of Cameroonians, they go line up from their airport to the main street of their city for go receive a foreign head of state. Now only for Cameroon that they do this kind backward thinking. Now only for Cameroon, with a white man, a foreign head of state, it can visit the president of their dictator, and the population go come out for say the one go receive a foreign head of state. All we last month, the Commonwealth, it take place for Rwanda, for Kigali, Rwanda. All Commonwealth head of governments, from the British Prime Minister to the Canadian Prime Minister, they go for Rwanda. Okay? All different set of states, from the Nigerian government, from the Nigerian president, all they go for Rwanda. When I see the Rwandan people, they go line up for streets. Say they want to go visit, they want to go receive politicians, they want to go receive some head of states. When I see them, why this is only for Cameroon? Why be seen only for Cameroon where another person one can visit that country? When, how they call it, Barack Obama be the president or be still be president of America, when he can't visit Ottawa for Canada, no Canadian, they will go line up for street, say the one can welcome Obama, say come Canada. Now political visits. Now political visits. Except when Obama one can tour for some place. Because of his fame. Because of his humanity. Because of his connection to people. Because of the things and way they do and way they be human. People them they will go, say me they go salute. But not only for Africa. Now, I mean only for Cameroon. The most backward country on the continent. Their population will go line up. People they will leave their jobs. People they will leave their market. They will leave their picking them. They go line up for streets. Say they want to welcome the president of France. The president of France, now actually the president of Cameroon. Anyway, that one be just been a comment for shame how the Camerooners they behave. Now make we enter inside the business of Ambazonian liberation. So over the last few days, we don't see how Cameroon they try for re-strategize, or we don't see how Cameroon, because of Ambazonian defeat of Cameroon, because of Ambazonian people them, their ability for defeat Cameroon and control the suburbs. That means they control all the villages and the towns. Cameroon, their military, they don't run. They only hide now only for the big cities. Cameroon, because of Ambazonian defeat, will cause a political chaos for Cameroon and it make the Biya government collapse. The defeat of Ambazonian people, their defeat of Cameroon, now it collapsed poor Biya government. And over the last 2 years or so, the Cameroon president official face outside because of shame. A man will claim to be the most powerful dictator of Africa. The Ambazonian people, their defeat of Cameroon for Ambazonia, it make Biya, it become the most shameful person, and Biya start for run for attend international conferences. It start for run for attend meetings outside of Cameroon, outside of the Cameroon presidency. All those things, Biya government collapse. The state of Cameroon collapsed politically, it collapsed militarily, it collapsed in terms of security, it collapsed in terms of their economy because of the Ambazonian people, their defeat of Cameroon for Ambazonia. Now Ambazonia collapsed the Biya regime based on what strategy? So because of this Ambazonian defeat of Cameroon and because of the chaos, the political chaos, where was strategy created within Cameroon. Oh, by the way, I want to just tell you and say, today, we hear say bomb explode for inside Yaoundé. Another bomb explode. And this one, they come now just after 3 days, where another bomb be explode inside Yaoundé. So, not been only political chaos there inside Yaoundé, but also, there is also security chaos for inside Yaoundé. Back to the story. So, what defeat of Cameroon, it don't make Cameroon don't scatter. And now the fear say, it is as the Biya government, the regime of Mr. Dictator Paul Biya don't come to an end. They don't know what to do. They try now a political patch up. They try to patch the political process within Cameroon for install Frank Biya as the president of Cameroon. Well, this will not be new. If we see most Central African states and most French African states, most of the time when the papa be president, they always patch their constitution for take the Pekin, the Chukam as president. And most of these African countries, then they actually accept those things and it don't become a common practice within French Africa. And so Cameroon will be any exception. Mr. Paul Biya don't rule for 40 years. He try for exit. They no go follow their constitution. They get a person where they call and say prime minister, but they get 5 people then where they don't put them within their presidency, where they get more power past the prime minister. They get the person for the National Assembly, they get the person for the Senate, they get the people, them, the Secretary General for their presidency of the Republic. They get 5 people there, they be more powerful within the Cameroon state, past their own prime minister. So anyways, now Cameroon that, now the game that, and the thing that will happen, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, a visit for Cameroon, now for do 2 things. Now for one, now for endorse the political transition process, for make Emmanuel Macron the president of Cameroon. Now for sanction him, now for endorse him, now for make sure say he convince the Cameroon politicians for accept him. Say it will guarantee stability within Cameroon. Number 2, it go then forget discussion with Mr. Biya, because Emmanuel Macron now he just win re-election, and I think say from the French Constitution, but I not be quite sure. I think say from the French Constitution they limit the terms of power to 2 terms. I think say now last term this for office, and we think say they say Mr. Macron they try to do everything as Cameroon don't lost Mali. Cameroon don't lost Central Africa to Russia. I mean, as France, it don't lost Mali to Russia. France don't lost Central Africa to Russia. France, no one lost Cameroon to Russia. Mr. Emmanuel Macron, a visit, now for solve, now for do 2 things. For endorse the transition, and number 2, for make sure, say, Cameroon, not fall into the hands of Russia. Now, how this one concern Ambazonia? It concern Ambazonia because over the last 5 years, the Ambazonia Governing Council, they don't try to do their very best as the National Liberation Movement for lead the Ambazonian people to the right path for liberate themselves. Ambazonian people then, because of the mentality of the occupation, the Ambazonian people then, because of the way Cameroon, the educational system where Cameroon don't gear for the Ambazonian people then, where people they allow themselves to be manipulated by other Ambazonians in terms of say they want can liberate them. And over the last 5 years, Ambazonians they don't go through one phase of experiment to another, and all these things, the only thing with the cause of Ambazonia, now more loss of lives, now more destruction of Ambazonia, now more killings of Ambazonia, now more pain on the Ambazonian people then. The more political experiments Ambazonia they allow them from the first IG to the second IG to the third IG, they move forces. They go to move forces from one process to the next process to the next process to the next process, from one method of corruption to the next method of corruption. All these experiments with Ambazonia, they allow themselves. The only thing with these experiments they do, they weaken the resistance, they cause infighting, they cause division, and they give Cameroon an advantage over Ambazonia in terms of the liberation, in terms of the war. And they give Ambazonia a very bad image. The Ambazonia Governing Council, it don't focus on the liberation only. While others they focus on political experiments, the Ambazonia Governing Council focused on the national liberation for our people there. So, I did bring up these things for Una because Una get a choice. You want liberation or you want to continue with the old methods of allowing yourselves and allowing your liberation for people for use them as political experiments. Now the choice Una get that. Now, the Ambazonia Governing Council, it no go watch, it no go stand by for watch and leave them. Make political scavengers, unionists, and Fumba knights, will they only be interested for divert the people their attention, weaken the people their resolve, and send the people them back to Cameroon. The Ambazonia Governing Council no go watch, make our people they be derailed, make our people they be frustrated, and make our people they be weakened in order for these unionists and Fumba knights. As I don't explain them for unapologetically, the IG, they create them now as an impediment, as an instrument for weakening the Ambazonian liberation struggle. The Cameroon government, it created the IG now for use them for weakening our liberation struggle as we done some over the last 5 years. When I follow me on this discussion, they create the consortium. Bala hijacked the consortium from Barrister Boga Harmony. Agbobala, he hijacked the consortium from Barrister Boga Harmony. Bala rush. He go create something and he make himself the president of the consortium and he make Fontaine the secretary general. Alright? Bala, Cameroon used Bala for hijack the momentum on the ground. And then what will they do after they make Bala, after they use Bala for make Bala president of the consortium? What did they do? They arrest Bala and Fontaine, they put them for jail in order for kill the liberation struggle. Alright? Once the Ambazonian liberation, it take a different turn, and Tassan moved the liberation to the diaspora for protect the liberation. Tassan, Ihelet, and others, they create Skakuf as a unity platform. Cameroon be threatened by the unity and the strength and the focus of our people then on the resistance. Cameroon create IG for puncture the resistance. What did they do? Just like how they use Agbobala and Fontaine Neba for hijack the struggle on the ground and then capture Bala and Fontaine, put them for prison, and then negotiate with Bala and Fontaine. Once Ambazonians, they focus on the liberation and they come up with one voice. They start to speak with one voice. They start to work as one people through the Skakuf collaborative platform under Nationalist Liberation Movement and the consortium. Cameroon will be threatened by the unity and focus of the Ambazonian people then. Cameroon create IG. Now listen. Once Ambazonians, they come together, they start to work together for their liberation struggle through the unitary collaborative platform. As our people, they be united, they be focused, and the liberation will move faster. The Cameroon state will be very threatened by this massive momentum. They create the IG. Once they create the IG, now for puncture the liberation struggle, now for divide our people them, now for weaken our people them. The moment they create the IG, what did they do? They catch the leaders of the IG, just like they catch the leaders of the consortium for kill the liberation struggle. They catch the leaders of the IG so that it could be like say they don't catch the leaders them of the liberation, and therefore the liberation, the people they will become hopeless, the people they will give up. They catch the leaders of the IG. As Cameroon, he used them for talk saying that them now they be the government. Cameroon catch them, just like they use Bala and Fontaine, talk say that they speak on behalf of all Ambazonians. They catch the leaders of the IG in order for kill the liberation struggle. They create the consortium. They use Bala and Fontaine for create the consortium for speak on behalf of Ambazonia, arrest them for kill the liberation struggle. Once Ambazonians they come together, they create collaboration and they start to speak together, work together, will be very effective. Cameroon create the IG for kill the liberation, for divide our people them, for weaken our people them, for bring infighting, and then catch those leaders in order for stop the liberation struggle. Once they catch the doer, what will happen? Cameroon create another IG for continue the division, for continue the infighting. They send a person who can introduce corruption, the killing of fighters, and give now all this background, make you understand the intelligence. Because as God, as they write for the big book, without knowledge, a people will be perish. I need to give you this information because I hate some person. I need to give you this information for you to understand the history of your liberation struggle and how Cameroon it use corruption and create its own people then, create movements where they be anti-Ambazonian liberation struggle in order for use the people then, use those people then, promote those people, push those people ahead in order for puncture the liberation struggle. As when I don't observe them, when I don't experience them, when I don't live through over the last 5 years, the history of the IG now is a history of the infiltration for puncture, for destroy the liberation struggle, and for give the Ambazonian liberation a bad image. Frustrate fighters on the ground. I don't give una that background. Now make a take una now, give una the background in terms of forces. Una remember, when these people they come up, number one, they talk say all forces, they must fight under what they call and say county by county. So they take a liberation struggle, a national liberation struggle, Cameroon take them, instead for fight for the nation, they introduce now the tribalism as a form for divide the people then, so that there no will be a specific focus on Cameroon. There will be now a specific focus within tribal lines. Say if you cross from here to here, problem go there. And it lead to massive infighting on the ground. Then, end for day. It lead to massive corruption. Once you introduce tribalism, the colonial elites, they go enter now inside, they start to buy those forces, bribe those forces, and you start to see the resistance be weakened. People they need to focus on Cameroon. They focus now on their own small places. When I see what county by county do, introduce tribalism, introduce corruption, introduce bribery of forces, and when I see the impact on the ground, it introduce massive infighting, and it lead to the death of many soldiers. All these things in a Cameroon creator. The person who introduced on a county by county, na Cameroon movie, send them for place where they send it, for help Sako, and for do these dirty games on all una. And una eventually see what they finally do for a liberation struggle, and una see the rewards, how Cameroon reward those people. All these things are for help una. How this one, it relate to place we dey today. It relate to place we dey today because now all those things they determine how the ground they now. Now all those things it determine how the liberation struggle it be perceived internationally. Most of Ambazonian territory between 2017 and 2018 will be defeat Cameroon almost across the 13 states. The entire CDC will be shut down between 2017 and 2018 during General Ivo period. The entire CDC will be shut down. Entire PAMO will be shut down. Sonora will be taken down. Almost all the things that they give Cameroon money, they will be destroyed through the economic sabotage strategy. Now the effects are on the ground today. There is almost zero fighting for Fako. There is almost zero fighting for Meme. There is almost zero fighting for Coupe. For Manu, when they see the effects, they don't take those tribal soldiers for Manu. They turn them now against the Ambazonian people there for Manu. Killing 19 in Oboni and 69 in Akwaya within 2 weeks. Burn the Manfe Hospital. The impact across the territory will not be good, but there is good news. The Ambazonia Governing Council is focused on the liberation. And as I tell you last week, the only hope for the Ambazonian people then, the Ambazonia Governing Council, the only hope for Ambazonia for gain independence. Now the Ambazonia Governing Council. Now we only hope that. If you doubt what I tell you, just ask yourself, now which other movement, it don't create a force for you? I want to just ask you, if you doubt what I ask you the talker, if what I talk and they vex you, because they don't brainwash you, they don't manipulate you over the last 5 years, and now you don't like the truth anymore, because you don't support what will be wrong, you don't support the things in way they don't lead to the destruction of Ambazonia, they lead to the killing of thousands of forces, because you support those things. So wait till the talk now, they vex you, because you be support the wrong thing, and you don't want to accept them. So this truth, it hurt you. This truth, what they talk about, it pain you. You're not supposed to pain you. This truth is supposed to heal you. You get to only learn from your mistakes. It not be your fault. So you be manipulated. The truth is a healing power. Alright? I just ask a question. If you doubt what here, if you not believe what they ask who are the talker, ask yourself, since all this movement they tell you say they want to give you independence, wait till they don't create them for you. The first IG built you a force, they buy you guns, they train a soldier, they recruit soldier, nothing. Second IG, they create any force, they recruit any forces, they train any soldiers. No, they only try for take waiting other people don't create them and talk saying that they are own, that then they must control them and then they destroy them. Right? The third IG don't come. They don't train any force, recruit any force, provide any direction for una. Secondly, the first IG come, they give una any roadmap for how una for liberate themselves, how una for liberate themselves. Zero roadmap, zero strategy. Right? Second IG come, they give any roadmap, any strategy, any plan of action, nothing. Third IG don't come, they don't give any roadmap, any strategy, any plan of action, nothing. Make we go for the proxy groups then. Whereby don't come, where they try for using now for divert the people their attention. Because all the other one where they try for use them, for use Ambazonia and divert Ambazonia attention, it don't fail them. Now they go find a person where he be a former member of the parliament and he still get a pension, he still come up from the parliament. A pension, he still come up from Cameroon. Alright? Just because he make a speech for parliament. Now that they try for using now as their new boy for divert our attention. A person who never talk say, never call for collaboration. A person who never work with other leaders. When they invite you 2 times for meet up with other leaders, you take it 2 for them wrong, go hide. Even when they don't put out the information, say they will meet up for London, you wrong, go hide. Even they don't put out the information, say they will meet up for Germany, for Stuttgart, you wrong, go hide. So now they try for divert on attention. Alright? The only roadmap where Mr. Weber they try for Biya and the Ambazonian people for tell people then about a strategy. Now a cake strategy, say for the 21st century, they can't tell about liberation, revolutionary committees. A 19th century way of thinking into the 21st century liberation. Anyways, very poor for innovation, but that's a subject for another day for analysis. We'll bring another one. I don't ask you a series of questions, and I want to make when I think about those questions. I don't ask you now. I understand for answer. When I provide the answers for those questions, because the questions they will determine on a level of thinking and understanding. With all which I already provided for now, we say on a day now. We already defeat Cameroon. But why the ground not still be as strong as it's supposed to be when the strategy already defeat Cameroon? I just ask. When the strategy already defeat Cameroon, why the kind of success we want them will not still get them where we're supposed to get them? And we don't reach now for a level where Cameroon government would wait until either Biya die or the international community step say, okay, Mr. Paul Biya, na Paul Biya be the cause of the problem, Biya don't die, and then, well, Emmanuel Macron don't come up, or some other person don't come up, will be part of the problem, so they will try for now, give now a patch-up political solution. Now, you know the way, we already Ambazonian people don't defeat Cameroon. Now, Ambazonia get a choice. You defeat Cameroon, you either make the investment as the governing council don't prescribe for now, for take over the territory, build the kind of forces where they will give una the capacity for take over una territory and gain una independence. Or we continue for do what they call and say dabbling. That means say you go left, you go right. You go forward, you go backward. You come for the same place and then you continue for turn inside the same place over and over and over and over. The only thing with the cause am na destruction, more death, because Cameroon need pity any person. Cameroon need the wait. Alright? Cameroon need the wait. Cameroon need weaken you and then impose on you what you want to make you become. Just like the weakened Ambazonia. Ambazonia come up for the Eastern House. They come, they not build an army for defend the institutions and protect the state. Cameroon don't understand now. He used that advantage. So will not build an army. The moment they make the arrangement of plebiscite, you move your own army into Ambazonia. What you wanna do? Nothing. And since then, they take advantage. They kill the plebiscite arrangement for 1972. And since 1972, the only thing where it bring Cameroon and Ambazonia together na the plebiscite agreement. And they kill them for 1972. So we face an existential threat based on the occupation. What do all this one mean for now? We didn't have for a critical point, a crucial point, where Cameroon, they try to regain their losses from Ambazonia. Cameroon, they try to regain their political control for Ambazonia. Cameroon, they try to use their military for re-establish their political authority for Ambazonia where they already lost them. Why you go leave a person we don't defeat, a country we don't defeat, make it re-establish itself for continue for govern you when you don't already defeat it? Why? Because we'll be distracted every day. Because we'll be distracted every day. Most Ambazonians, they don't even know, they say they already defeat Cameroon in terms of the strategy. The only places where Cameroon get authority are only in the big cities. And the reason is because we defeat Cameroon, but Ambazonia not take the time for listen to sound advice and make the investment in the right direction for give them what they want. So now the price, the waiting on the see on the ground, now the price of our stupidity. Cameroon the ability for the even succeed for kill generals. Now the price where Ambazonia they pay them for their stupidity, for allow themselves to be manipulated, and for use their liberation struggle as a place of experiments. Now a price. The slow pace of the progress for the liberation. Now a price. And we go continue for pay the price until we change, until we rise up, until we wise up, until we focus on what matter. And the Ambazonia Governing Council wants to stop these distractions. It wants to stop these manipulations and these experiments for refocus the Ambazonian people there. Cameroon don't send 2 new generals to the Savannah state. For the place where the resistance still now 100% active. The resistance for most Savannah states, it don't slow down drastically. So Cameroon need to worry about that side because the They don't use through their enablers, their corrupt politicians, their CPDM elites. They don't use corruption as in a year for FACO, by the forces them for FACO with almost 600 million. When I get the intelligence, that's why there is no fighting for FACO. That's why the Mountain Lions, and no one make any other group. It exists for FACO. When I don't hear the intelligence, we put out the report for all now. They take 600 and something million, both from within the CDC, within PAMO, within how they call that water, within the company where they make that Tanguy, what are that Tanguy on Supermont. Within Supermont and within the Cameroon government, within CDC, the forces for FACO of Mountain Lions, their bosses them, that means say their agents, they collect 600 and something million for Cameroon government for stop fighting. They just did it now for make sure say other forces they don't exist. Now the thing that it don't happen across most of the Atlantic states. Most of the Atlantic states, the thing that don't happen. So now, Cameroon feel confident. Say don't weaken the resistance for most places. And if it solve the one then way they still stand strong. When I hear the Cameroon government is focused now because they don't use a lot of una, they use a lot of una, yes, una know una selves, they use a lot of una people them, they buy them out, they treat them very nice, and they destroy una liberation struggle. So Cameroon be very confident. Say don't weaken the resistance for most places, but the other places where they still stand strong. Cameroon believes say its strategy, if you work in the long term, in the short term maybe enough you work, but in the long term, they believe if they continue if you work, because they get some successes. So for stop all these things, for make sure say Cameroon not regain control of Ambazonia, we must disrupt the Cameroon re-strategy. That means we must disrupt Cameroon the ability for re-strategize and for recalibrate and for refocus on Ambazonia. We must disrupt them. We must stop them. We not feel leave them. The two old new generals, so they don't send them for our territory, will give them breathing space for even understand what they go on and then for remap their new plan of action. We not give them those space. Secondly, the Ambazonia Defense Forces, based on intelligence, based on a couple of things that happen on the ground, they don't discover say La République du Cameroun is plan for launch major attacks for most of the forces them across the territory simultaneously. The Cameroon military, the new generals, so they don't send them out, they plan for show the world and for tell Mr. Biya and the Cameroon government and the Cameroon people, say they get control of the territory. The Cameroon military, they plan for launch major attacks for the major Ambazonian fighting camps within the Ambazonia. As a result, the Ambazonia Defense Forces, based on their intelligence and based on the understanding of Cameroon, their new strategy, we need for protect the Ambazonian population, we need for protect the forces, and we need for disrupt Cameroon, their plan. By that, the Ambazonian Governing Council, for protect the Ambazonian liberation and protect the Ambazonian forces, it did declare a 1 month lockdown beginning on May. The Ambazonian Governing Council did declare 1 month lockdown as a national security lockdown. This lockdown not been just an ordinary lockdown. Now a national security lockdown for the protection of the Ambazonian people, for the protection of the Ambazonian forces, and for disrupt Cameroon their plan, so that they don't get the ability for move their military, their forces strategically into these places for execute this plan, because the new generals, they want to prove their worthiness and they want to accept their authority All right? The Ambazonia Governing Council did declare 1 month national security lockdown from August 1. So the Ambazonian people then, make them be informed, say, from August 1, Monday through Friday, the territory will be locked down. Saturday and Sunday, the population will get the means. If you come out for go market, for go for farm, for go harvest their crops. They get what people, they get Saturday and Sunday for do everything what they need for do them. Because Monday through Friday, na total lockdown. Now, secondly, this lockdown, the Ambazonia Defense Forces and all national liberation sister forces, they go be deployed across the territory. It go be now a civilian lockdown, where it go be enforced by the military, by all our defense forces across the 13 states. All the major highways across Ambazonia, they will be shut down. There will be zero movement between Monday and Friday. Saturday, the population, if you go farm, if you go market, if you go about their businesses, for be able for stock, will give the Ambazonian people them enough time for buy chop, for go for farm, for buy medicine, for make sure say they stay safe. We must protect our liberation struggle, and we must protect measures them for protect forces them. We must take measures, proactive measures, for disrupt Cameroon their military strategy plans within Ambazonia. Now the national emergency lockdown that we could take place. So make everybody take note. Secondly, number 3, I want to acknowledge, say, in the past, the Ambazonia Governing Council, it be one of those, it be the only movement where it don't make an argument, say we don't need extensive, indefinite lockdowns. In the past, the Ambazonia Governing Council, including myself as an official of the Ambazonia Governing Council, we don't come out, we challenge other movements and explain to our people them the other movements where they call for lockdowns without explanation and they talk in an indefinite lockdown. We don't counter these things. So a lot of them go the things say, but when I be already tell other people, they say, no, enough you call for an extensive lockdown. Extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary decisions. Extraordinary moments like this, when a national emergency security moments, they call for we for do things and we before will be opposing. Will not be opposing not because we come up for other people then. Will be opposing because they not be get any merits, they not be get any justification. There was no military political objectives will be clearly defined and be laid out. We don't lay out the political objectives we want to achieve, the security objectives, the military objectives we want to achieve for one, and why it be important for the population, why it be important for our liberation. So that's why we not talk say this thing an indefinite. That's why we don't make it be reasonable. That's why we don't make we could find some balance for give the population a little bit of room. We know say the month of August na harvesting season. Na time where people they go for harvest their crops. That's why we don't make them say Saturday and Sunday. Exception will be for give the population time for gather chop, give the population time for work farm, give the population time for do harvesting of their crops. All these things will take them into consideration. But we'll get to find a balance between the safety of our population, between the safety of our forces, between disrupting Cameroon strategy, and for make sure say we keep the resistance stable, focused, and strong. And so I don't hear from the Supreme Commander of Ambazonia Defense Forces, General Efan, when he brings this message of the lockdown. As when I don't hear, don't explain them for una. The Ambazonian Defense Forces, since the last 3 months, the general don't do a lot of work. And as he don't tell una, during wartime, time day for fight, time day for plan, and time day for grow. That means a time day where we get for build, as the general put them. The Ambazonian Defense Forces over the last 3 months, they don't build. And as the general talk in due time, una SSF, una go take una eye, be very proud of what the general did do, of what the general did build, of what they already create for una, as we prepare for total takeover. Again, from August 1st, as the Ambazonian Governing Council be announcing, at the time when the Ambazonian people them, for 5 major states for Ambazonia, most of the states when they under total, they get more ADF control. Most of those states where they get more liberated territories, they will start the implementation of Ambazonia Transition Authority on the ground for give the Ambazonian people them their power back. All right? Now the thing is I be talking, make I take the time announce them for una. The thing is I be take the time for explain them for una. The thing is I be talking, make I take the time for giving her this education. This lockdown, it will be enforced by our forces. So any person, prepare yourself, go buy your medicine, buy chop keep for house, keep water for house. The ground, it will be very hot. Now the time this will go for decide, for commit, for sacrifice, for our freedom. We know say it's not easy, but it be very necessary. When coronavirus be come out, and the whole world, it be see the deadliness of coronavirus. Countries, even the one where me I did it for Canada here, they lock down the entire economy for secure human lives, for save lives. They lock down entire economy. They lock down nations, close borders for save human lives. When lives they be in danger, we must take all necessary measures for save lives, the lives of our people then, the lives of our forces, and our liberation struggle. So in extraordinary times this, and we must take extraordinary measures. And the lockdown, it will help we for achieve those things, for save lives, prevent lives from being lost, prevent what comes them from being invaded, prevent what comes them for the military, for disrupt the military, their activities and their plan, and for make the 2 new generals where they send them for Ambazonia, make them become as useless as the other one then. Make all forces them for Ambazonia, they take note of which we tell them. Make all forces, they make sure say they be on atalat. Make all forces they make sure say they plant enough pops around the roads and their surrounding, and for make sure say they get 24-hour security watch around their camps. The new fight don't change. Cameroon, they need to fight anyhow now. They use not only their specialized forces them for do night raids, because they get equipment where they help them for be able to see for nights. The new fight now means say the military, they could drop them and they work inside bush for up to 10, 15, 20 kilometers and then wait like a hawk, wait like lion between 2 to 4 o'clock at night when forces, they don't tire and they feel say nothing will happen. At that time, they will use their night equipment and they feel see fine, and you not get those equipments, so you not feel see fine. They feel see you from afar, they feel see you, and they feel take you out without even you knowing. That's why they feel enter for night. They surround places where they already get intelligence, gather intelligence on those places, and no place where generals and top commanders they sleep and they stay. So all man get for change in arrangement for sleep and for place where generals and commanders must be. And all generals and top commanders, they must get at least Every general must get at least 5 forces around me, no matter place where they. Minimum 24 hours a day. So we will not take the ground for granted anymore. Cameroon they operate now on intelligence. We will take care of ourselves. We will take what we tell now very seriously. When people don't follow advice, it will lead to disaster and it will lead to deadly consequences. Just like we be given advice over 7 kata of Bafut, we will fail for follow that advice and it lead to the capturing of those forces and almost the entire unit. Cameroon capture all them. We will take this advice very seriously. Ambazonia will be on a national security lockdown and for protect our population, protect the forces, and for disrupt the enemy activity. My name is LucasAsu. I'm the press secretary for the Ambazonian Governing Council Executive Office. When I get a great day, any person will get a concern, you get a question, when I feel free for contact with. Any information where you get them about enemy movement activities, when I feel free for reach out for we. We'll talk for now tomorrow. For now, when I get a good night, may God bless you now. May God keep you safe. May God protect you now. May God strengthen you now. Now time this way, all we get for stay focused on the objective for our liberation, on the goal of our liberation, on the ability for we, as we don't defeat Cameroon, for take our territory. And the thing this way, the Ambazonian Governing Council, it work on. When I get a good night.